work of all kinds eventually. In the next 10 to 15 years, most diagnosticians will be replaced by what looks like a diagnostic machine. In other words, it's much easier to make a laptop computer that's a medical advisor that can recognize all kinds of skin diseases. You don't need a diagnostic institution anymore. In other words, the future will be so fabulous and so different and offer so many new opportunities if we're sane enough to make this transition without going to war. Whenever you go to war, it's a supreme failure of all nations to bridge the difference in values. You live in a very primitive society. Politics was terrific 100 years ago, but today we can surpass the need for politics and move on with high tech and make things available to people without a price tag, debt or servitude, or any of the systems you've been brought up to believe in as being worthy of supporting. We are not civilized yet. As long as there's war, poverty, hunger, need, we are not civilized. As long as we build killing machines or train thousands of soldiers to become killing machines, you live in a false society. And every nation tries to indoctrinate its people to believe in that system. The system we live in today is extremely primitive. And perhaps, as someone else remarked, that the movies of the future about our present-day society will be looked upon as horror films.
This is kind of ironic. Jacque and Roxanne, has the Venus Project had any contact with democracynow.org? They seem to be a very good alternative media site. Do you want to tell them what happened with that?
Yeah.
Democracy Now?
Yeah. I thought it was really important to contact Amy Goodman and introduce her to the Venus Project. So they had something where you could pay $1,000 and pay your way to New York and have dinner with her and watch the show. So we went through all that, and we spent thousands of dollars to introduce her to the Venus Project. So we sat with her for about an hour for dinner and talked to her about the Venus Project, and she was very polite and had very little questions, and really none. And she just didn't seem to get it. I think she's more of a watchdog for this system than I've never heard her pose an alternative to this system. She advocates democracy and maybe equal rights and justice within this system, and tries to make this system more just, but we feel that there is no justice within this system, and we really have to introduce a new one where you don't have to fight for human rights or women's rights or Polish rights or any rights, but it's built in so everybody has access to all goods and services. But she didn't seem to get it. Maybe more people should get in touch with her. Maybe if more people could contact her and have her look into this system, maybe she would. I don't know. We left her some books and videos, and that was about it.
Does the monetary system really have to fail in order to implement the Venus Project?
I'm sorry, but it seems that people during the last Depression became more socially aware. When everything's working out, most people don't give a damn about anything but their own little lives. And as long as we're concerned with what's in it for me, you're going to enter into many different social problems. All crime, all serial killers, all conflict is based on social insufficiency, meaning we don't do the things that will preserve or sustain civilization. We're a crude civilization that's essentially self-centered at present.
Do you think that governments will start to regulate the automation of jobs soon? You don't hear much about this topic in the media, and when do you think people will start to recognize this problem of technological unemployment?
They won't recognize it because it's not out there to be recognized. In other words, these ideas are not out on television. They're not out in the media. They're not in newspapers. But they are in magazines throughout the world. It's publishing articles all over the world on the Venus Project, except the United States. Now, only one radio station once talked about the Venus Project positively.
I don't think that was the question, though. Was it? About automation?
It's just whether or not automation, how long do you think it'll be before automation and people start to realize, at what point will people realize that technological unemployment is reality?
When they're out of work, when they lose their jobs.
Right.
It takes an economic disaster to cause social change. It does not come through reason or logic because it doesn't work.
Well, they're not
And-
educated enough.
And communication really doesn't exist today. You only talk to people that have similar values. You can't talk to people that have been brought up with values that are contrary to your value system. So someday, if we make it, if we become singer, we'll be able to communicate in much more relevant ways.
How is your motion picture doing? Apparently they saw that you have a new team for 3CAD. How is the movie coming along?
Well, we can't produce a major motion film because we don't have the economic support. All we do is produce short films or videos on what the future can be, not what it will be. I don't know what it will be. We may kill each other or destroy the environment. It's not up to Roxanne and myself. It depends on what you do to help bring it about. The more people that are aware of the Venus Project, the higher the probability of it being installed. It's not a forced system. It's not a takeover. It has to do with the decisions people make.
We have a pretty good-sized team that are working on animations from Jacque's sketches, and we're going up and back with them and making changes. And we're working on a city right now, and houses, so you can fly over it and then go within the city. And we hope to use that and other animations that we work on for our next films that we're doing here. But a major motion picture really takes the financial backing of people who can do that, and probably a major producer and some major actors need to get behind it as well. So maybe if people would like to contact major actors and actresses who they feel would understand this direction or would maybe be interested in learning about it, they could maybe help get this off the ground.
This is just a comment directly to you guys. They're like, you both have so much energy, you never get tired. I know people your age, they travel around the world. You are both great. People are saying that this is great. They're glad that we were able to broadcast this way. I'm hoping that I can help them learn this technology so that they can do this themselves whenever they want. Let's see. What do you think is more effective at helping to change the mindset of people? Optimism of what could be, or pessimism of how things are now?
Well, pessimism doesn't offer any alternatives or any methods for solving problems. It merely complains. And that's what I find on most liberal stations. They complain about the ineffectiveness of the system, corruption in government, inconsiderate health care, but they don't offer alternatives. What can you do about it? This is what the Venus Project is concerned about, what to do about it. So I would suggest those of you that want to know more about the Venus Project, we have a website, thevenusproject.com. Look it up. And we have answers and questions, all kinds of questions. So look it up and judge for yourself whether or not you want to become involved in our project. Our project is not self-centered. It is not a monetary system. It's not a con game. It has to do with building a sustainable global environment without war, poverty, or any of the problems you have today. I believe that most people pick up their values from the environment they live in. Examples I've used many times: if you're brought up in the South, you speak with a Southern accent. If you're brought up in France, you behave like a Frenchman. If you're brought up in